Wisconsin is a state known for its great beer.
And behind every great beer is great brewing, great people, and great stories.
On this show, we're going to be talking to the people that are responsible for making the beer that we love.
We're here at Hopcat in Madison, and this is Behind the Brews.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to episode 3. My name is Mark Alfred. I'm here at Asylum with my partner in beer, Fred Swanson, and we are about to go and meet some of the folks that make this insanely great beer and learn a little bit about their story. So let's go get them.
Dean, thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for coming down.
My first question is, you guys all met at the Angelic. Talk about how that organically grew out of that experience into what we're seeing today.
Well, all right. Otto and I met at the Angelic. And I quickly had respect for Otto because we always had these weekly manager meetings. And Otto was the first manager. I'd been doing this for years, and then he got hired. He was the first manager who came in and sat down and, no, we're going to do this the right way. Everyone's going to do their job, no excuses. And so I instantly liked him. And we started a friendship. One day he came to me and he said, I think I'm going to start a business. And I need some software to help me write a business plan. And I was like, oh, I have that software, I'll give it to you. And he said, oh, why do you have software to write a business plan? I was like, well, I've always dreamed of owning my own brewery. And so we started talking about our business ideas, and he pretty much said, your idea is better than mine, let's do that.
So what achievement have you been the most proud of as being one of the founders of Asylum?
When I first became a brewer, I had to quit my $9 an hour job to take a $6 an hour job, and I had to give up insurance. I really took a step down, and that's what was accepted at that time. If you wanted to become a brewer, you had to take a step down to do it. And several of the guys working for me own houses and condominiums, and that makes me fiercely proud.
Brewing life is not always glamorous. Let's talk about a couple of your harrowing near-death experiences.
The funniest, or the closest to death that I danced so far, about 2007, we're at the old location, and we were bottling beer, and that bottling machine is a 1971 Pepsi bottler that we retooled to do beer. And it was a very ornery, mechanical beast. And when the bottles would go in, their first thing it would do is pressurize them, fill them with CO2. Well, if anything went wrong, it turned into a glass hand grenade. Boom. And one time, a piece of shrapnel caught me on the neck right there, and it severed a tributary to the jugular. So it wasn't spurting, but it was gushing bad. A new waitress wanted to impress the boss. So she said, I'll give you a ride to the hospital. I'll give you a ride to the hospital. So I said, fine, I got a towel. We go out to her car. It's a brand new white car with white interior. So I'm sitting like this on the way to the hospital, trying to get the blood to pool on me. And then we get to the hospital, and it's just amazing how much attention you get when you walk into an ER with just covered in blood. And I went from ER to EOR so fast. I remember thinking to myself, I didn't know there was an EOR.
So with the success of the brewery and all the expansion that's going on at Asylum, what has been the biggest challenge for you?
With that expansion, you're selling beer to wholesalers, and they're selling to retail, and it gets farther and farther away. And making sure that all of those channels are working properly, so the beer is treated properly. We always make all of the wholesalers sign contracts that they'll always store a beer cold. And we actually caught a wholesaler up north that wasn't doing that, and we dissolved that contract. They lost us as a brand. But it's just that as the geographical footprint gets bigger, it's harder and harder and harder to know what people are doing, in South Illinois or North Minnesota.
What keeps you focused day after day with all the challenges that you face?
The liquid. I got into this business because I love to brew beer. And that's still what I do. I pull at least 2 to 4 brewing shifts in the brew house a week. They try to get me to do more office sales stuff, but I don't want to. I like to brew beer. That's what keeps me going.
Dean, thanks for spending a few minutes with us. We know you got a tour you got to get to. We're going to catch up with Hathaway and Otto right next, but thanks for everything.
Thanks for coming down.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Otto and Hathaway, for inviting us here today. We really appreciate it. So my first question is, what has been your greatest achievement here at Asylum?
honestly, I think part of the things that we like to do here are very traditional in approach, and also kind of playing off of that, being traditional and maybe a little old school in how we work together. This is a team, this is a family. When things go right, we celebrate together. When things go bad, we experience those things together as well. I think probably long term, that's probably our favorite accomplishment, is that, you know, win or lose, we're in this together.
Adding on to Otto's, I would say I like that we continuously find ways to pay it forward. You know, we're still kind of a young company, but we find ways to work with area nonprofits and to help, you know, our success as we grow, funnel into that to help our community. That's one of the things that I'm the most proud of.
I mean, because really at the end of the day, it's all about the beer, certainly. But when you talk about the larger portion of that, for us it really is these kind of, how do you fit in with your team and with society at large? It all stems from the beer and the quality and consistency thereof. But if you're not fitting in, if you're not being yourselves and still being a family, then really what's the point of doing it?
So the word on the street has always been that the graphics and the design elements that come out of the Ale Asylum also have to stand significantly on their own as tattoos. Talk about the truth of that, and then talk about the design process for a few minutes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Everything has to pass what we refer to as the tattoo test. If it isn't something that would look good as a tattoo, we're not going to do it as a logo. It's a little ironic because I don't have any, but I might be one of maybe 2 or 3 people in this 50-ish person company that doesn't have a tattoo. And I'll tell you right now, there are a ton of people who have Ale Asylum tattoos, from people who work here to people that have wanted to work here, and we've had contests before. It's actually made it kind of fun. You know, you see some of these things.
Flattering.
Yeah.
So on a day when you actually have to design and you're really being creative and you're thinking, how dark and how deep does it get in your office?
Well, sometimes the office is at home and sometimes the office is here. But really what amounts happening is the office is locked, shuttered, and nobody is allowed in or out, and it's as loud as the music can possibly get, a variety of different types of music, and that music is actually catered to the specific logos that I'm working on. And I've done the majority of the logos here, not all of them, but the majority of them. And it can get very dark, so like it or not, that's sort of the background of how things kind of turn out around here.
Hath, can you talk about being a woman in a very male-dominated, both currently and historically, in our industry in the state and in the country?
Absolutely. First of all, you know, I went into this hoping it wouldn't be as gender specific, you know, that there is kind of delineation that I am a woman in this industry, but at the same time, I feel very proud, if I may say that, to be amongst other wonderful women in this industry. I will say that not once in my time with Ale Asylum or in this industry have I ever made to feel different because I'm a woman. And I appreciate that. So.
If I can add to that, as Director of Promotions, Hathaway here, she handles all the social media and responses and questions, queries, all that stuff. And I think what gets lost a lot of times online and social media is that that's a real person behind that screen. And there are some things where people just are throwing out this vitriol in an anonymous state behind a flat screen. Well, anybody that ever does that, recognize that there is somebody behind that, a real person, who is earnestly wanting to answer your questions, but they have to sift through the anger and the vitriol. And so that's part of what she has to deal with. I think we could all stand to be a little bit more present and recognizing that it's not a robot behind that screen, it's somebody who really wants to do something good for you.
So Ale Asylum just opened up the Minnesota market. Previous to that, you'd open up Illinois. What are the challenges every time you open up a new market?
I think resonating with the market is number one. Getting to tell your story in the way that you want to tell your story, because of the sheer hyper-local situation that we find ourselves in. I think that plays a part in that. And so you have to be able to tell people in an honest level, in every time you can, on an eyeball-to-eyeball situation, this is who we are and this is why we do this stuff. And while you're sipping a beer, hopefully they get who you are and they get why they're enjoying that product inside the glass.
My biggest challenge is that each one of those states has a large metropolitan area that carries a very large bandwidth. Each one of those bandwidths has a different personality. I like Hefeweizens, I like IPAs, I like extreme beers, and having to create, like Otto said, messaging for those guys and having everybody be happy and have the message resonate deeply within those territories is a fun challenge to have that I look forward to every day.
Hathaway and Otto, thanks for having us out. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching episode 3. We'll see you down the road. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.